What's up, everybody? Chris here again with the Discipling Culture of New City Church, and just want to kind of walk you through. I want to give you some real life examples of how the Learning Circle works. I am convinced that if you're in your discipling group and you download the Learning Circle but never have anybody walk through it, like if there's never plans being worked in your discipling group, I've really got to question whether or not people are moving. Just come to this idea that the information download is not discipling. All right, like hear me say that loud. Information download is not discipling. Showing people tools without people using the tools on themselves is ridiculous. Like you wouldn't go anywhere and hand a man a tool and then tell him to go jackhammer a wall with his screwdriver. Like it's not how it works. And so I want to just kind of talk you through the Learning Circle and kind of give you some real life situations of how the Learning Circle plays out in discipling. Got a good friend of mine came to the house. Was talking to me about how he's the youngest of four in his family. He is the only one following the Lord right now. Like his other three brothers have kind of gone sideways. And he's like, man, he goes, man, it really bothers me. He's like, it bothers me. Like we get together and we can't have a conversation about Jesus. We can't, like, they knew him at one point but have all backed away. And I was like, well, why does it bother you so much? Right? So no, the first part was the observation. The second part was, why does it bother you so much? And so his response to me is this. He's like, man, he goes, it just messes with my conscience. Like I can't seem to let it go. And when he said that, man, my mind immediately went to the story in Acts when Paul was going to Jerusalem. And he walks by the town of Ephesus. Now remember, the city of Ephesus, he stayed there for 3 years, and so he grew to love these people, even though he was built to move. It says that when he walked by the city of Ephesus, he didn't go into the city, but he sent word to the city to send the elders out to him. And so the elders came out to him, and they sat with him, and they begged him not to go to Jerusalem. He's like, this is where I'm going. And then he says this to them. He says, listen, you know that while I was with you, man, I preached the gospel, regardless of how you felt, so that as I stand before you now, my conscience is clear. And so when my friend said that, I said, man, hey, here's what I'm reminded of. And I shared that story with him, and I said, here's what he said. He goes, he preached the gospel whether they wanted to hear it or not, and his conscience is clear. And my friend looks at me and he goes, man, my conscience is not clear. And I said, well then, what's God saying for you to do? And he's like, man, I've got to preach the gospel. And I said, okay, man, so now it's time to make a plan. All right, so he makes a plan, gets his brother in the car, and comes back to report to us the next week, and here's his response. I chickened out. Like I chickened out. Like we know that believing God sometimes is difficult. He's like, man, I just chickened out. And so we kind of walked him through that, man. It's like, fear is not of the Lord. And his response to us is this. He goes, I will not chicken out this time. So he plans a date with his brother. They go play Frisbee golf. He's like, bro, here's the deal. And he just downloads his heart for his brother. And here's what happens. His brother's response was incredible. He just said, listen, he said, I've been waiting for somebody to have this conversation with me. He says, it's time for me to start tracking with the Lord again. Like, it was an amazing thing. Like, only the Lord can do these things. And so his brother attaches back to the local church and starts following the Lord from a simple conversation, from a simple act of obedience. Why? Because the Lord is looking for our obedience. Like, if you remember the story in John 11 when Lazarus comes and he's dead and Jesus shows up and he's like, take that stone away. And his sister goes, he's going to stink. Don't move it. And the Lord said, did I not tell you that if you will believe, you will see my glory? And that's the whole purpose of the Learning Circle. Like, we have to believe first before we get the glory, before we get to see the glory, because that builds a pillar of faith in us. And then next time we'll believe even more. The Bible calls this movement from glory to glory. Translated, it means moving from a place of unbelief into a place of belief, meaning that God is strong enough to do this. And when you work enough of these circles, your heart will burn for him. Like, you will get a white hot faith. And your role is to teach others how to get the same, right? So that we can see a full-blown movement of Christianity, of the cross of Jesus sweep across. And so, man, this is just a kind of a picture of how the Learning Circle works. I encourage you, push people into it. Nobody likes to be pushed into their pain. Your role as the parent is to push them into it because you love them and you are fighting for them. And so, man, I hope this video has been helpful for you. That's kind of how the Learning Circle works. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email. or get with your spiritual parent, and man, we can help coach you up more in this, and man, get you proficient in using this tool. It is the place where we see God's glory break through the most, and so you want to be proficient in using this one, right? So until next time, man, know that you're much loved, and keep calm and disciple on.